Welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a part 2 of last week. If you didn't see last week, you can click the link right here and go watch it. To summarize, I went to a gallery last week and talked to the director. I talked about how to develop an exhibit, what my concept loosely was going to be, and just how to do some more of the logistical things that I had never thought about. And in that conversation, we also discussed doing a smaller exhibit at her gallery, which I'm pretty excited about. That exhibit would consist more of landscape photography and nature photography. So there are things that I like to do, but I wouldn't consider myself great at. But I showed her my pictures and she actually really liked a decent amount of them. And so it had me thinking, I know what I like as far as my style goes. And I know what she kind of gravitated to. But I was curious to see what other people thought. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that this week I did a poll on what my best, or what you thought my best images were for maybe an exhibit setting. And it was actually really interesting to see the results, which is what we're going to be going over today. I realized that this poll wasn't perfect. The photo groupings weren't ideal in some circumstances, but really I just kind of want to go through and look at what you guys thought and break it down and discuss what my favorites were, where I was kind of surprised. So this first one isn't really a shocker to me. I know that the lighthouse is a crowd pleaser. I actually took that at one of my good friends' weddings, and it was more of a present for them, but I ended up falling in love with it and making a bunch of variations, and my favorite was this high contrast kind of half lighthouse where the whites were just super blown out and the blacks really came through. The 2 and 3 photos I just took, and again, if you follow my Instagram, you'll have seen them. I didn't expect many people to love the number 2, and what's funny is my favorite is number 3, which was the least voted for. It's really hard because of the crop on some of these too. They aren't representative of what you'd actually see. But yeah, I kind of figured that that would be the most popular. On to the second one. This was interesting just because I have had more compliments on one of these photos than any other photo I've ever taken. And that photo ended up being the last photo that everybody liked. That is right, the bull photo. People ask me for prints of that photo all the time, and my favorite in the bunch actually won this poll, which I think is actually kind of neat. The bull is cool, but it's, it's a picture of a bull. I feel like that's all over Target. The other 2 photos are both in Williamsburg, and they're kind of plain, but I like them. That's why I put them up there. This poll I thought was really interesting, just because, again, my favorite was the red buoy. I kind of like the color contrast there. It was just a really foggy day, and a lot of these pictures were taken on foggy days. It's my favorite weather to shoot in. And what was interesting was the ship ended up being picked. Now, there is another picture of a boat in this poll, and the gallery director, I couldn't tell in her email if she liked this picture of the ship or the picture of the boat. Regardless, I am pretty surprised that people like that picture, considering it is a little hard to see it. But I thought that was really interesting and kind of enlightening. This picture, or this grouping, actually surprised me a lot as well. I keep on saying that. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's true. I took this picture of the swing like a few months back, and that's here in Newport News on a private residence. Has a no trespassing sign up. So I took out a 70-200 and I zoomed in as far as I could go, and then I cropped in a little more because it was really far away, and I knew that people would like it. And again, this is the disconnect between, you know, consumer. I don't even want to say consumer, because a lot of you guys are artists and photographers as well. I love number 3 and number 4. And again, I think context and the crop is really important for this poll. And I probably didn't do either of those pictures justice. But I found that really interesting. The director really liked that photo as well with the swing. So that will definitely be one that I print. This one I expected is a total blowout. This is a picture that when I put it out on Instagram, people went crazy over it, and I got a lot of people saying you need to make a print of that. And it was both friends that were photographers and people that just kind of follow me. There are 2 pictures in here, with the one of the beach and the one of the water, that they're okay. I think they're a little more vibey. They aren't technically great photos. But number 4 was interesting. Again, I just took that photo a few weeks ago, and I really like that photo. I think it's the color and the texture. But it's just like, it's rocks and water. It's just interesting, and it actually did well, considering I think this photo was probably the most liked photo out of the whole group. This is another interesting one. I like these photos, again, or else I wouldn't have posted them. But none of these are my favorite. I think, as weird as it is to say, like, I would say this is the probably biggest group of losers in my eyes. And ones that I wouldn't necessarily consider putting up. But I actually got a lot of comments on these, and again, the art director loved number 3. And so I took that picture again at my friend's wedding that I was talking about, and it's been sitting on my hard drive for years. I never published that on any platform or anything. And I saw it and I was like, that's alright. And it's just interesting. It really, as a photographer, makes you think like, man, if I went on my hard drive right now, is there gold that I'm sitting on that, like, I thought was garbage, and maybe I need to revisit the edit. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. 4, I like the symmetry. And number 1, I actually do like that photo, but the quality is not the best. It's just a kind of a flat image. But I like how it looks. Again, really high contrast, very punchy. This one is definitely, this is a throwaway bunch. These pictures are more for texture, and I like the color on them too. Just that muted brown, warm tones. I prefer number 1 easily out of the bunch, but it was interesting to see everybody heavily liked number 3, and again, I think it maybe came down to the crop. I don't know. We'll see if I put any of those up in the exhibit. I doubt that I will. This was my last poll, and I thought this was really interesting. I'm not a big animal photographer. I take pictures of animals because they're there, and sometimes, like, I like to say when I'm taking pictures of animals, I'm a portrait photographer taking a picture of an animal. I am by no means a nature photographer. And so all these animals, they just look like they're posing. I thought it was really interesting. The 2 black and white images were on a day where I just went out shooting. The number 1 image with the 2 horses was actually during a portrait shoot, and I just thought that the horses were lining up in kind of a neat way. And number 4 was just a landscape. I like how the layers of landscape kind of lined up, and again, the crop on all these images are so off from what it would actually be, and so I didn't do myself any favors with these images, but you guys picked the one I thought you would pick. Number 3 is such a cool image. That horse, it was equally as white as it is in that black and white photo. It was just beautiful, and the way it was standing was just, I don't know, it looked like out of a movie. I sat there and I took pictures of that horse for probably like 5 to 10 minutes, and that was my favorite image out of all of them. That's also probably the only photoshopped image in this whole bunch, because there was a giant tree right next to it, and I took it out. I hated it, and I think the image looks a lot better without the tree. But yeah, that is the polls. So to give you guys a better idea of what is going to be happening with this exhibit, I plan on doing this in April. The director of the gallery seems like that's totally doable. I don't know how long it would last, and again, I still have some really big details to talk to her about, but I'm aiming for April. With that, I would need 15 images, and I believe a good amount of those images will be able to come from the poll that I just took with everybody. I really think that I've got some solid images between everything that everyone else liked, everything that the gallery director liked, and everything that I like. I think I should be able to accomplish it. I want to gather a few more just to give me a greater depth, but I also need to figure out the vibe of this show. Something one of my friends was bringing up to me is you obviously need to have a cohesive show. You can't have a bunch of different things going on at once. And I want to be able to put whatever I want up there, but I also want to do this the best way possible, in the most professional way possible. That way, when December rolls around and I want to do the big boy exhibition, I'll be ready for that. All this being said, thank you guys for taking part in this poll. A lot of people voted, and I was actually really surprised. I don't normally get that kind of interaction on my Instagram, so it was really cool to see. Thank you for the comments as well. I really appreciate all the support I've been getting on Instagram. Also on this YouTube channel, I've gotten a decent amount of subscribers lately, and that feels really good. So thank you for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this week, just kind of seeing more of the process of what I'm going through, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you.